Hey everyone, Matt Baird here. You're about to hear my interview with Madalena Sánchez Zampaulo. I recorded the interview on Skype, and I'm sorry to say that no matter what we did, we had an absolutely terrible connection. And just when the connection seemed to improve, we both got interrupted by doorbells and other background noise. It was really distracting, not to mention frustrating. Somehow we managed to get through it, and we even had a good laugh in the end. Anyway, I wanted to give you a heads up. Thanks for your understanding. Now let's start the show. Welcome to the ATA Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Baird, and you're listening to Episode 16, the PR Report. Each month on the podcast, we bring you news and insights from the American Translators Association. Today's episode is all about ATA's Public Relations Program. What's it all about? What's it for? Where's it going? Stay tuned, and you'll find out. Joining me today is Madalena Sánchez Zampaulo. Madalena is a director on the ATA board and chair of the PR committee. Madalena, great to have you back on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Matt. I'm excited to talk about what we've been working on in ATA Public Relations and where we're headed.
Right on. And by the way, congratulations on your recent re-election to the board.
Thank you. I'm excited for what's to come in the next 3 years.
Right on. Now, anyone who saw your presentation at ATA's 58th Annual Conference, which was in Washington, D.C. last month, knows that ATA's PR program is quite the busy one right now. Now, you and the committee, which our listeners should know I am a member of, are doing a lot right now. So we really have a lot to talk about today. But before we open the curtain, so to speak, and let's set the stage. Why does ATA have a PR program?
Well, Matt, one of the things that our association strives to do is to educate the public about our professions as professional translators and interpreters. The PR program was created to do just that, to educate and inform the public. So that covers a wide range of people, and there's the general public itself. And then we also take a hard look at how we can speak directly to buyers of translation and interpreting services in all types of industries and professions. We also have an arm of the PR program that educates students, of course, and that's the school outreach program.
Okay. Now, Madalena, if a member came to you and asked, how does ATA's PR program benefit me? What's in it for me? What would you tell them?
So, Matt, I would say that the PR program is really a huge benefit to all members. Our committee is out there sharing the message that hiring professional translators and interpreters is the only way to go when it comes to fulfilling their needs for language services. We're actively sharing this message in the form of articles that are penned by our PR writers group, through our spokespeople who take interviews with the media, and through our PR event speakers, who are out there speaking to groups of people at conferences and events in other industries. We're also informing the public that our association is the place to go when they're looking to hire a translator or an interpreter, and we heavily promote the association's website, which of course houses the member directory. And so if buyers are looking for translators and interpreters for their projects and appointments, they're going to go to the directory first to find a professional. And that's a huge benefit to members that they wouldn't have if they were not ATA members. The directory itself sees a lot of traffic from potential buyers, so this is a huge benefit.
Let's go back a few years. and get a little background story. Tell us what the situation was and when you came onto the board and took over the PR committee, and how did the PR committee develop the current program?
Okay. So ATA went through a few years where we had to make some serious and hard cost-cutting decisions. Those cuts affected, of course, the PR program as well at the time. And in 2014, then President Caitlin Walsh reached out to me as I was a member of the PR committee already, and she asked me if I'd be interested in chairing the committee. And since that time, we have more than doubled the PR budget. Over the past few years, my fellow board members have been incredibly supportive of the work and the efforts that we've put forth in PR. And we also, as a board, have heard members loud and clear. They wanted a strong PR program, and so as money became available in the budget, we were able to put more funding towards PR again, and the expanded program is in direct response to that request from our members.
In the May 2015 issue of the ATA Chronicle, you wrote a very comprehensive article about ATA's PR program, what you had been developing since you came on board as the committee chair. And at ATA's 57th annual conference in San Francisco last year, you and I co-presented a session about ATA's PR efforts. We talked about the three target groups: potential buyers, the media, and the general public, which, if you think about it, is really a wide net. It's really a large audience. Why does ATA cast such a wide net?
So that's a really good question. Essentially, anybody who's interested or in need of translation or interpreting services is a potential buyer for our members' services. Buyers can come from any walk of life, any profession, any country, any background. They might be searching for services online, and then they might see one of our penned articles that promote professional translation and interpreting services. Or they could be watching the news in the evening, and they might see an interview with one of our spokespeople. So they could also be attending an event for their own industry in which they happen to have the opportunity to hear one of our event speakers talking about the benefits of working with professional translators and interpreters. The general public is perhaps the widest part of this net, but if you think about it, anybody who could be in need of a translator or an interpreter falls into this group. So somebody might need their personal documents translated, or they might need to hire an interpreter for a meeting. There are so many reasons that the general public can benefit from the message that we share that the net should be and is being cast wide. And in the end, it's our members who will reap the benefits of this.
Now, in that same presentation, we introduced what we called the ATA PR Toolbox. Can you share with us what's in that box?
So basically, the ATA PR Toolbox is a set of tools that we have set up to speak to our target audiences. There's the press room, the PR writers group, the spokespersons and event speakers, and the rapid response team.
All right, let's talk about each tool in the toolbox in a little greater detail. Why don't we start with the press room? Tell us a little bit more about what the ATA offers on the website.
Okay, so if you take a look at the press room section of ATA's website, which is on the right-hand side, there's a drop-down menu, and it says press room, and underneath that you'll see an introduction and various other pieces of what we do in PR. You'll see that there is a welcome message that talks about ATA's history. There's some information for members about client education and some resources there that they can use to talk to potential and current clients. There's information there for buyers, as well as some information about what we're doing currently in ATA PR. And I believe that the articles that our PR writers are writing are there under Client Education More. That's the name of the part of the drop-down menu where you'll find those. Also, if you would like to see more information about what's going on and to share that with your own clients, you can look under frequently asked questions, and under frequently asked questions, you'll see that all of the answers to those questions are really the overarching message of ATA PR.
Right on. Now, what role do the spokespersons and event speakers play in PR?
So that's a good question. The spokespeople and the event speakers are basically individuals in our association who have been appointed by the president. So they serve at the pleasure of the president. We have a large pool of speakers who are trained to speak to the media, as well as folks who are trained to speak at large events about our profession and the association. In 2015, we hired a professional speaker trainer to give multiple training events to our spokespeople and event speakers. And we've had many interviews and speaking gigs since then that have panned out to be very effective in getting our message out.
Where can I find out more about these event speakers and where they've been speaking?
Okay, so if you would like to know more about where they've been speaking and anything currently going on in PR, you can always look to news briefs because we'll put announcements into news briefs, so watch your emails. You can look at the Chronicle, at the outreach reports. And of course, at the end of every year, we include a summary of these in the annual report. In addition, you'll see that I report on these to my fellow board members in the form of a board report from the PR committee. And so you'll see a brief summary of these things in the board meeting summaries as well.
Okay, great. Let's move on to the next tool. What is the writers group? What do they do?
The Writers Group is a group of folks on the PR committee who dedicate their time and efforts to penning original articles on the translation interpreting professions. These articles are then pitched to editors of trade publications. And currently we have 10 articles that have been pitched and published in over 50 publications to date. The 11th article is going to be out soon, and it's due to be pitched in early December. The greatest thing about the articles that our PR writers are authoring is that we're able to spread the word even further about hiring professional translators and interpreters, because one article is picked up by more than one publication. In fact, most of our articles have seen multiple reprints in magazines and journals across a really wide variety of industries. There's also, if you think about it, there's also the evergreen factor. The articles that our PR writers pen are pieces that can stand the test of time when it comes to being informational for potential buyers. This is why editors are still picking up some of our very first articles. The fact that most publications where we have these articles placed are digital, this allows for us to show up more often in searches online too. Every single article publication has a direct link to ATA's website and therefore to the directory. So that's why previously I said that I really recommend that our members make sure their profiles in the directory and their information, their contact information is all up to date and current.
Okay, and I believe you mentioned it briefly when you were talking about the press room. My next question is, where can I find the articles that the writers group are publishing?
So if you go to ATA's website and look under the tab on the right side that says press room, there's a drop-down menu. Just click on where it says clients, and then there is a second drop-down menu, and it says client education more. And there is a list there of all of the publications that have reprinted our articles. And so you'll see from the very first one, the first one was about machine translation, and then we've had many more after that, and there are all of the publications that have picked these articles up. And we update this every time we receive word of a new publication that has picked up our articles.
Now finally, the final tool in the toolbox is the Rapid Response Team, which sounds quite interesting. Tell us about that.
Right, so the Rapid Response Team is another arm of the PR program that essentially came from a need that we saw and that members also found to be needed. Oftentimes when we get approached by journalists or reporters asking for comments or for an interview for an article or piece they're working on, the time frame in which they need to talk to somebody is very short usually. The window is small, so if we want to have our comments included or to provide an interview, then we have to move very fast. And the same goes for whenever there's a need to respond to an article or statement in which a response from ATA's president or spokesperson is necessary. For example, we were approached by a CNBC reporter very early on this year, and she was working on gathering information for a potential story as part of a series called Where the Jobs Are. At the time, she simply wanted information for her story, and the possibility of an on-camera interview with a spokesperson was just a possibility. So our rapid response team quickly put together a significant amount of information for her with the help of President David Rumsey. He was the president at the time of this. And after some tweaking and edits, we went to the reporter with the information, and she told us that she would let us know if an interview would be requested at a later date. So I followed up with her several times, and the piece had actually been postponed for a little while. And then several more months passed, and she came back to us again and asked for several interviews. So we moved rather quickly, and we set those up with her. And what came of that were 2 segments that many of our members will have seen online. We also presented the clips in the Washington, D.C. conference at the annual meeting of all members. And those segments appeared on PBS Nightly Business Report and CNBC's Where the Jobs Are. So I can't even tell you actually the number of times it was shared and reshared on social media. So the reach of some of these quick turnaround requests is often unknown at the time that we're getting them, but sometimes another story in a news cycle can take precedence, and the piece that we actually provide information for may get pushed aside or sidelined or even completely canceled. So, but if all goes well, we see the clear benefits of having our rapid response team work so closely on these types of quick turnaround responses, because as you saw with CNBC's interviews that were aired, we were able to promote not only the association but our members and their professions.
It really was great coverage for the association and for our profession. I really loved the interview that was done with Jutta Diel-Dominic, who's a colleague of mine in the German language division of the ATA, and I was excited to see CNBC getting a real look into our lives in our home offices and what we're doing every day. Now, Madalena, we call what we do public relations. And you did mention that the general public, we mentioned it earlier in the podcast, the general public is one of ATA's target groups. But many might say, wait a minute, potential buyers and the media, those are the most important people we are targeting. Why are we targeting the general public?
So, Matt, by targeting the general public, we also reach potential buyers of translation and interpreting services and the media. By looking to a more general group of people, we never know, first of all, who's listening to our message or who's reading our message. It could be anyone, and they could work for, a large corporation who needs translations in several different languages, and they need professional translators to look to. It could be that a lawyer is reading an article that we have penned in an industry magazine, and he's looking to hire interpreters for his firm. It could be, just anybody who's seeing our message is becoming educated about the profession and what we do. And that's really our goal in public relations, is to educate the public about our professions, because we have such specialized professions and we work with such important subject matter that it's essential for the public to know about what we do. And the media falls under that, and so do potential buyers in many walks of life.
I totally agree. And I remember a few years back, there was an article in Forbes magazine that listed the translation industry as the biggest industry you've never heard of, I think was the quote. And many of us know that the translation industry or translation and interpreting industry is a $40 billion a year industry in the United States. And when you tell that to a business person who understands numbers, their eyes widen every time. They don't
Right.
really realize what's going on behind the scene, who is producing all that content on those multilingual websites, things of that nature. We're kind of hidden. We're in the shadows, and so I agree with you. Getting our message out to the general public is also going to sort of trickle down, if you will. It's going to also reach those potential buyers and the media who may then want to talk about our industry even more.
Right.
So we're nearing the end of 2017. Let's look ahead. What's in store for the program in 2018?
Right. So looking ahead to 2018, we are hoping to expand our reach even further, of course. We do have the budget and PR to be doing this. And so what we're looking at doing is sending our speakers to even more conferences and events where they can speak on behalf of our members and share our message even further to more individuals. And we'll do the same thing with our writers. The writers in our writers group will continue to pen pieces about translation and interpreting that are pitched to editors all over the country. And we are also hoping that we can start writing even more specialized pieces for publications that target specific professions. So watch for that. That should be coming up as well, hopefully in 2018. That's my plan anyway. And then finally, the school outreach program is also going to be another exciting contest year for us. Watch for that soon. The deadline is already set for this coming year. So let's see, we're at the end of 2017. So potentially our members have a good, half of the year to set up an appointment to speak with students in a classroom and to share our message to students as well, because they are also extremely important in our overall message. If you think about it, students who are coming up could potentially be the next generation of translators and interpreters, or they could be the next generation of buyers of translation and interpreting. And the earlier that we can educate people about what we do, the better for our profession in the long run.
I couldn't agree with you more. Now, as we move into 2018, how can ATA members stay informed about what you and the PR committee are doing?
So I would tell our members to keep checking their emails and news briefs that come out every couple of weeks. All of our articles that we have published are updated on the website as well. We often make announcements in news briefs, but if you're ever looking for a comprehensive list, you can look on the website. The information is always there. Continue to watch out in the Chronicle for the outreach reports. And every time there's a board meeting, several weeks later, you will see a board meeting summary come out, and you'll find a summary as well of the points that I've shared with the board of what we're doing in PR. So there are a lot of places to watch for the information.
Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. We've covered what you've been doing with the ATA PR committee. You've got a lot of things going on, Madalena. Would you like to share any final thoughts with the listeners?
I would just say if you have any ideas for other things that we could be doing in ATA PR, feel free to send those to me as well. I do have a few members that have reached out to me the past year, and some who have joined our committee as part of that process. And also just stay tuned for more. We're really excited about what's coming up in PR and all the strides that we've made so far.
Well, thank you very much, Madalena. Appreciate you joining me today. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks. You too, Matt.
That's it for our show today. Be sure to tune in next month for our final episode of the year. I'll be talking with ATA President Corinne McKay about the highlights of 2017 and what's in store for 2018. Don't miss it. Previous episodes of the ATA podcast can be found on ATA's website, atanet.org, under Resources. And you can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, and other podcasting apps. And don't forget to leave a review wherever you can. Our audience is growing every month, and we have you to thank for that. Please keep spreading the word. We really appreciate it. As always, I'd love to hear from you. Please send your comments and suggestions to podcast@atanet.org. Who knows? Your idea just might be the next ATA podcast. Episode 16 was produced by myself with support from Madalena and ATA Assistant Executive Director Mary David, as well as ATA's IT guru Rashawn Paccarel. The music you heard today was composed by Benjamin Tissot at bensound.com. Thanks again for tuning in, everyone. Talk to you next month.